Egg consumption. More eggs produce more breast cancer. Now look at that one. Headline. Where is it? The Journal of Breast Cancer. This isn't like the hippie journal of let's do alternative medicine and go against the medical profession. This is the Breast Cancer Journal, the #1 journal worldwide on breast cancer. If you're a breast cancer guy, you basically read that journal every day, and they say more eggs produce more breast cancer. This is in 2014. The analysis of 13 separate studies. This is called a meta-study. Remember last night, those of you that listen, I said, Ann and I don't like to read studies unless they're meta-studies. Several people did studies, and then you see the one strain of truth, because every study is pretty much biased and paid for by some industry. But if you read 13 studies and they all say this one particular thing, bingo, that's real at that point. This is what the studies wrote. Results show that egg consumption was associated with increased breast cancer risk for those consuming 5 eggs or more a week. A week? You eat one cake, it has 10 eggs in it. One cake. You don't even know cakes have eggs in it. How come you have to get vegan cake? How come kegs were moist and puffed up? You know, they puff up because you put eggs in there, they puff up. And they become moist because of that. And even when they make the donuts for you vegans who don't give up junk food, your junk food vegans, they're basically putting a substitute for eggs in there to puff it up. Because you're so used to muffins being puffy with eggs in them, you don't even get it. 5 eggs a week, you increase the breast cancer. Now, I don't know how many of you listening around the world, but I never stopped at 5 eggs a week. Again, I was eating 10 and 12 eggs at a sitting sometimes. How many of you here in the auditorium relate to that? Well, that's it. Most people consume 5 eggs in a meal. Now, immunity is compromised when birds are consumed with a virus microcid. And when you start to look at all these bacillus, the fungi that resist in the cell and tissue of these creatures that people choose to consume. So what we know is every single creature that's in the flesh of the animal is now transmitted into your body. So many people, in fact, end up with not only the bacteria that comes from this and the viruses that my good friend Dr. Livingston proved cause cancer, but you end up with amoebas. You end up with parasites. And even after cooking it, many of these things are still present. Isn't that amazing? And why do you think the big thing is when you're making chicken, you've got to clean your cutting board? How many of you haven't heard that? You don't know that. Yeah. Even if you're a vegan, you've heard that before. Why? Because all of these little bugs, and these are actually what they look like. So take a look at what you're ingesting there and touching. And remember the salmonella and the E. coli we spoke about? 90% of the eggs tested, over 1 million eggs globally. That's there. You don't even have to eat the things. Just touch them and rub your nose. You won't worry about the flu at that point. Believe me, you won't be around to have a flu. Keep doing that enough. That's what they look like there. How about Campi bacteria? Bacteria is found in over 90% of the birds. Very common. 90% of birds, by the way, have this Campi bacteria in it. It's in their egg. This not only creates food poisoning, but can lead to reactive arthritis, the bloodstream infection, bacterium, as well as nerve disorder. How many of you know about that syndrome? Have you ever seen anyone with that syndrome? You get paralysis. So people walk around, they can't talk, part of their lip is hanging down, it's like a paralysis of the face. And where does it come from? We know where it comes from. It comes from Campi bacteria. That's in 90% of all the birds tested globally, consistently. By the way, that testing's been going on for as long back as they've done it, before I was born, before anyone in this room was born. And by the way, they always find 90% have this Campi bacteria in it. And when you go to the doctor, what's the doctor do? Well, we don't know why you got sick. You must have picked something up. What did you pick up? You picked up a chicken wing. You picked up the leg of a chicken. Picked up the breast of the chicken. Wealthy people, only ate the breast of the chicken. Yeah. Get over it, people. Get over this shit. So we're going to move on to the next slide presentation. But in fact, allow birds to be birds, and your body to be without burdens. There's no need to consume the flesh of a flying creature. Those of you that still think that you bullies, that still think you have to go out as men and capture the necks of a bird and crack it and bring home the fowl to your family, become men. Bring yourself home. Bring love. Bring harmony. Bring peace. Bring food. Bring love. Don't bring insecurity. We continue to perpetuate insecurity, guess what we're going to have? Perpetual insecurity. And that's all I can say. You know, when people start to love themselves enough, they're actually going to love themselves enough to eat the right food. They're going to love themselves to harmonize with nature. They're going to love themselves to do the right thing. And until you're willing and ready to love yourself, you're always going to find yourself in this merry-go-round of craziness that we call modern humanity. Is this what you really want to be part of, people? Although everyone else is going along on that merry-go-round and riding their different horse, I want the horse, I want the elephant, I want the zebra, I'll jump on top of that. You don't have to do that. You can actually jump off the merry-go-round. When you jump off the merry-go-round, you can actually watch what goes around in circles. When you watch what goes around in circles, pretty much you have control of your life. And until you have control of your life, I can assure you, you'll make bad decisions. For instance, when I go to gyms around the world, I always listen to what the so-called fitness instructor tells people. Now, what they do is they say, well, you know, you want to have muscle, you have to eat an entire chicken a day. Isn't that weird? An entire chicken a day you have to eat. Now, why do people who eat lots of meat look like they have muscles? Anyone know? Because you're not digesting the animal. The animal goes in, it remains in the body for a few days, 3 days to be exact, doesn't really digest. You're not eating a carbohydrate, you're filling yourself up with the flesh of an animal, and in fact it starts to deposit acidity that erodes both the bones as well as every cell, every organ that you have in the body. And in fact, it leaves now behind everything that we've just talked about over the last few minutes together. And combined, you're getting sick from that. And when your body starts to emaciate, it starts to starve, your muscles pop out. It has nothing to do with that. We have a program at Hippocrates, by the way, that we do about once a year now. One of the most impressive competitive bodybuilders in the world, a very, very, very muscular, large man comes in who's a vegan and basically teaches people, they fly in from around the world, how to be large and muscular if that's what turns you on. Now, I'm not sure if that turns you on or not. Maybe you want to be like the turkey of today, large and muscular. But we all want muscles. Matter of fact, every sexy person you've ever admired has muscles, don't they? Every actress, every actor. Matter of fact, we had an actress recently that came through the Institute, one of the, I won't name her name, but very famous one, and she also was a model, a very famous model, and she said, you know, my whole life, she said to me, is working out and eating well. And she said, you know, until I started to eat this way, I didn't feel well. I exercised and ate well, but I didn't feel well. And so we've got to start to change our whole attitude about all of this.